Monday morning afterglow. Maya Reeves woke to the insistent buzz of her phone vibrating against the glass nightstand. She reached out blindly, eyes still closed, and swiped at the screen until blessed silence returned. 6:15 a.m. 15 minutes before her actual alarm, which meant her body had already adjusted to the relentless schedule of a senior associate at Hartwell and Cross. She lay still for a moment, letting consciousness seep back in, and became aware of the pleasant ache between her thighs. A slow smile curved her lips as fragments of last night assembled themselves into vivid recollection. The hotel bar at the Ludlow. That lawyer from the patent litigation firm, God, what was his name? David? Daniel? Who'd been eye-fucking her since the networking mixer started at 7. The way he'd cornered her by the floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the Lower East Side, close enough that she could smell his cologne, something expensive and understated. The heat in his voice when he'd leaned in and said, "I have a room upstairs." She'd known it was reckless. Knew she should have gone home, prepped for the Castellano deposition, gotten a full 8 hours. But she'd also been riding high on closing the Meridian deal, 3 months of 80-hour weeks finally paying off, and the way he looked at her, like she was something to be devoured, had sent a pulse of heat straight to her core. The elevator ride up had been excruciating. Standing on opposite sides of the car, the tension so thick she could barely breathe. The second the doors closed behind them in his room, he'd pressed her against the wall, his mouth hot and demanding on hers, hands already working at the zipper of her dress. "Fuck," she'd gasped when he dropped to his knees, pushing her dress up around her hips, hooking his fingers into her underwear and dragging them down her legs. He'd been good, better than good. His tongue had worked her with focused intensity, 2 fingers curling inside her while his mouth sealed around her clit, and she'd come so hard she'd seen stars, her fingers twisted in his hair, thighs trembling. After that, it had been frantic. Clothes shed in a trail to the bed, the satisfying tear of a condom wrapper. The delicious stretch as he'd pushed inside her, both of them groaning at the contact. He'd fucked her hard and deep, exactly what she needed, her nails raking down his back as she urged him on. They'd switched positions twice, her on top, riding him while he watched her with dark, hungry eyes. Then, bent over the side of the bed, his hand fisted in her hair, the other gripping her hip hard enough to leave marks. When she'd finally left around 2 a.m., legs still shaky, she'd felt gloriously used and satisfied. No numbers exchanged, no promises, just pure physical release. Maya opened her eyes and stared at her bedroom ceiling. The pleasant post-orgasm glow had carried her through the cab ride home and into sleep, but now reality reasserted itself. She had a deposition in 4 hours, and she smelled like sex and hotel soap. She threw back the covers and padded naked to her bathroom, catching her reflection in the mirror. Her dark brown skin glowed in the morning light filtering through the window. At 28, she was in the best shape of her life. Regular Pilate sessions and a metabolism that hadn't betrayed her yet kept her body lean and toned. Her natural hair was a disaster, the careful twist out from yesterday, now a wild halo around her face. There was a faint bruise on her collarbone where David or Daniel had sucked too hard. She touched it gently, felt that flutter of arousal again. She really needed to stop doing this. Picking up strangers at industry events, fucking them with an intensity that bordered on aggressive, then disappearing into the night. It was becoming a pattern, one her best friend Jordan had started commenting on. "You're using sex like some people use the gym," Jordan had said last month over brunch, gesturing with a mimosa. Which, hey, no judgment, but maybe examine why you need that particular stress relief. Maya had deflected, changed the subject, but the observation had lodged itself in her brain. The truth was, she did have needs. Strong ones. And in a profession where she spent 12 hours a day being measured, judged, and evaluated, there was something liberating about reducing everything to pure physical want. No performance reviews in bed, just bodies and pleasure and release. She turned on the shower, letting the water heat up while she examined the rest of her reflection. Full lips, high cheekbones, dark eyes that could go from warm to cutting in seconds. She'd inherited her mother's Jamaican features and her father's intensity. It was a combination that served her well in court and, apparently, in hotel bars. The shower was scalding, exactly how she liked it. She washed her hair, scrubbed her skin until it tingled, and tried to shift her mind into work mode. The Castellano deposition was crucial, a wrongful termination case where her client, a hedge fund, was being sued by a former VP who claimed he'd been fired for reporting financial irregularities. It was going to be ugly, and opposing counsel was known for being theatrical. She needed to be sharp, focused, not distracted by phantom sensations of hands on her body. By 7 a.m., she was dressed in her armor. A charcoal gray Tom Ford suit that had cost a month's rent but was worth every penny, a silk blouse the color of cream, and her favorite heels, Louboutins that added 3 inches and made a satisfying click on marble floors. Her hair was slicked back into a low bun. Diamond studs, a gift to herself when she made senior associate, glinted in her ears. War paint applied, foundation, mascara, a bold lip in burgundy. She looked like exactly what she was, a woman who could destroy you in a deposition and look good doing it. Her apartment in Tribeca was small but perfectly located, a one-bedroom with exposed brick, high ceilings, and a view of nothing particularly interesting. But it was hers. Well, technically the bank's for another 28 years, but still. She'd bought it at 26, a fact that still gave her a quiet thrill. Maya grabbed her leather briefcase, checked that she had her building key card, and headed out. The elevator in her building was mercifully empty. She checked her phone as it descended. 3 emails already, including one from Richard Hartwell himself about the Castellano case. Her stomach tightened. The senior partners didn't typically email associates directly unless something was wrong or very, very important. She opened it. Maya, need to discuss strategy before deposition. My office, 8:30. Short, direct, impossible to read tone. That was Richard's style. He'd been a litigator for 30 years and had perfected the art of revealing nothing. The subway platform was already crowded with Monday morning commuters. Maya wedged herself into a corner, briefcase held protectively in front of her, and let her mind drift as the train rattled toward Midtown. She loved this city with an intensity that sometimes surprised her. Loved the energy, the anonymity, the way you could be anyone here. She'd grown up in Atlanta, the daughter of 2 professors who'd expected her to follow them into academia. Instead, she'd gone to Columbia Law, fallen in love with litigation, and never looked back. New York had given her everything: the career, the apartment, the freedom to be exactly who she wanted. And if that person was someone who fucked strangers in hotel rooms and answered emails at 7 in the morning, well, that was her choice. The train lurched to a stop at Times Square. Maya exited with the crowd, letting the flow of bodies carry her up the stairs and onto the street. The morning air was crisp, autumn finally asserting itself after a prolonged summer. She stopped at her usual coffee cart. The usual, Miss Reeves? Please, Ahmed, and continued toward the gleaming tower that housed Hartwell and Cross. The lobby was already busy. She nodded at security, swiped her card, and took the elevator to the 43rd floor. The law firm occupied floors 42 through 45, a testament to its success and prestige. Hartwell and Cross specialized in corporate litigation and had a client list that read like the Fortune 500. Maya's office was on 43, a corner space she'd earned through sheer force of will and billable hours. It wasn't huge. Senior associates got offices, not suites, but it had windows and a door that closed, which was more than the junior associates could say. She set down her briefcase and coffee, booted up her computer, and tried to focus on the deposition prep. But her mind kept wandering back to Richard's email. Strategy discussion could mean anything. It could mean he wanted her input, trusted her judgment, or it could mean he thought she was fucking something up and wanted to course correct before she embarrassed the firm. Her phone buzzed. A text from Jordan. Brunch Sunday? I have TEA about the Marcus situation. Maya smiled despite her nerves. Jordan Chen was her oldest friend from law school, now working as a creative director at a boutique branding agency in the Flatiron. Where Maya was measured and strategic, Jordan was bold and impulsive, with a romantic life that made Maya's sexual escapades look tame. Can't Sunday, buried in Castellano. Rain check? The response was immediate. You're always buried in something. When's the last time you had an actual date? And I mean date, not anonymous hotel sex. Maya's fingers hovered over the keyboard. Jordan knew her too well. When's the last time you had a date that wasn't a disaster? Touché. But seriously, drinks this week. I worry about you. I'm fine. Talk later. She set the phone down and turned to her computer, pulling up the deposition outline she'd prepared. The plaintiff, Marcus Castellano, was claiming he'd been fired for reporting accounting irregularities to the board. Her client claimed he'd been fired for performance issues. The truth, as always, was probably somewhere in the middle. But truth wasn't really the point in litigation. The point was winning. At 8:25, Maya gathered her materials and headed to the 45th floor. Richard Hartwell's office was in the corner, naturally. Floor-to-ceiling windows with views of Central Park, furniture that probably cost more than her apartment, and walls lined with photos of him with various political figures and celebrities. His assistant, Patricia, waved her through. "He's expecting you." Richard was on the phone when she entered, but he gestured for her to sit. She took one of the leather chairs across from his desk and waited, using the time to study him. He was in his late 50s, silver-haired and perpetually tanned, with the kind of commanding presence that made juries pay attention. He'd been her mentor since she joined the firm, the one who'd pushed her towards senior associate when others thought she was too young. He ended the call and turned his attention to her. "Maya, thanks for coming up." "Of course. I'll get right to it. Castellano's legal team reached out Friday afternoon. They want to settle." Maya's mind raced. "Settle? They've been pushing for trial for months." "I know, but apparently they've had some discovery issues. Documents they thought would support their case don't quite say what they thought." Richard leaned back in his chair, studying her. "The question is whether we want to settle or press our advantage. What's the offer?" $2 million, plus a confidentiality agreement. It was a significant amount, but not devastating for a hedge fund. "Our client would probably take that," Maya said carefully. "It's less than the cost of a trial, and it avoids the publicity." "Probably. But here's the thing. I think we could get them down to $1 million if we proceed with the deposition today. Show them we're not backing down, then negotiate from a position of strength." His eyes were sharp on her face. "What do you think?" This was a test. It had to be. Richard didn't need her opinion on settlement strategy. He'd been doing this since before she was born. "I think," Maya said slowly, "that it depends on what the client values more, money or certainty. $2 million now is guaranteed. $1 million later requires winning the deposition, which means Castellano has to crack or contradict himself. That's not guaranteed even with weak documents. And if you were the client, I'd take the $2 million, but I'm risk-averse." She met his eyes. "You're not." Richard smiled. It was the smile of a predator who'd found worthy prey. "No, I'm not. Here's what I want you to do. Proceed with the deposition. Push hard. See if he breaks. If he holds up, we'll take the $2 million. If he doesn't, we'll renegotiate for less." "Understood." "Good." He stood, signaling the meeting was over. "Maya, you're doing excellent work. Keep it up." She was halfway to the door when he spoke again. "One more thing. There's a new partner joining us next month. Cameron Pierce from Sullivan and Whitmore. He'll be heading up our new intellectual property division. I'd like you to work with him on the transition." Maya turned back. "Of course. I'll make time. I thought you might get along. He's around your age, brilliant litigator, bit of a reputation as a closer." Richard's expression was unreadable. "I'm counting on you to make him feel welcome." It was only after she'd left his office, standing in the elevator as it descended back to 43, that Maya registered the warning bells. A new partner, around her age, brilliant, with a reputation. That could mean a lot of things, and not all of them good. She checked her watch, 8:47 a.m. The deposition started at 10. She had just over an hour to finalize her questions and get into the right headspace. As she walked back to her office, she caught her reflection in one of the glass walls. Professional, polished, powerful. No one looking at her would guess that 13 hours ago she'd been bent over a hotel bed, being fucked by a man whose last name she didn't know. And that was exactly how she liked it. Two worlds. Two versions of herself. And as long as they never intersected, she could have both.
Thanks for watching our stories. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more epic adventures. Thanks for watching our stories. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more epic adventures.